Hey everybody, welcome back to the Good Share Podcast with Ryan and Ice. I'm Ryan.
And I'm Ice.
All right. Hey, we got it.
Yeah, it was good.
So we have
10 chances.
So we had to backtrack a bit because something happened with one of the files that we captured on an episode that we basically are doing this again, right?
Yeah, it happens.
It happens. So doing a little bit of backtracking, but what's in store for us today, Ice?
Well, I think that like a week ago we had this really interesting conversation about a particular record, and we talked about why we liked it. And one of the things that we both agreed on was we really liked, I mean, the songwriting is good. We really like the artists and all that, and the playing and the performances are really good. But the one thing that stood out to us was like sonically, like how the record sounded was a major factor in why we liked it. Mm-hmm. And so that kind of got me thinking, like, wouldn't it be fun if each of us could make a small list of some other records that like may or may not be one of our favorite records of all time, but we like them because of sonically, like how they sound. And then if they happen to also affect you like on an emotional level or something like that, that's a bonus. Like I think most of the records I'm going to talk about probably fall into both categories.
Okay.
Because there are actually a couple records I had on my list that were really only sonically. But I was like thinking about the last couple days, and I was like, I don't know if I really want to devote. We only have like an hour or so. I don't know if I really want to devote time to those when I feel like there are other records that are more important to me that also kind of hit both things. Mm-hmm. So yeah, that's all. And we just thought it might be fun. You know, I don't know if that's a thing that other people. I don't know if like an average music listener even. If that's something they compute in their head, like if it's like, I really like this record because the songs are good, but also like the production is really good or whatever, you know, I don't know. I don't know if that's like just a really musician-y thing of us to do, but I thought it could be fun.
Yeah. It's hard to decide that when you're on one, because like we kind of talked about before, it's hard to kind of flip the switch the other direction for us. Yeah. Just be an average listener and just listen for the, you know, the see the forest for the trees type thing. Yeah. You know, back up and actually just take a good look. We're constantly analyzing the playing style. Right. And it's interesting because with that, without going into too much detail, like when you hear something, I hear something, you can tell whether or not how they're holding their stick, even if you can't see it. Right. Yeah, it's pretty crazy. Yeah. Okay, so who wants to get started? Yeah, I'm going to try to keep us a little bit more on track. I'm going to try. Yeah. Because the last time when we did this episode, we wound up like we hit a lot of really interesting things.
We did, but it was a little off topic of what we set out to do a podcast.
Yeah. And I think if we can kind of harness the power of keeping us a bit more. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, why don't you go first? I think you started the last time, so go ahead.
I did. And this time I'm going to do the same thing, except I'm not going to go off and ramble. Okay. I'm going to try not to ramble. So this one's more of like an artist type thing, not maybe necessarily a particular album, because I wouldn't know what album it is, because I don't really I don't follow music or that. I just don't. That's not the way I collect.
Sure.
Information about things. Anyways, the artist is Neil Diamond. My mom actually introduced me to Neil Diamond. Not in person.
That would be cool though.
Yeah, it would be super cool. They're like, "Hey Ryan, this is Neil, my buddy Neil." "Oh, hi Neil Diamond." "Oh, hello, Dad. How are you?" That's a horrible.
I don't think that's how his voice sounds.
I don't think that's how he sounds. I think I nailed it though.
Well, my friends call me Jerry.
Oh, Neil here. Yeah, but my friend called me Jerry. Well, you sound much different when you sing.
Oh, thank you.
Okay. So the thing about Neil Diamond was the music always had like movement, like always had momentum, even when there were down parts in the songs.
Yeah.
Like one song that comes to mind is Cracklin' Rosie. Like there'd be like little parts where they'd let the gas off, and back off. Everybody would stop playing except for a couple parts would keep playing, but there was always some type of percussion or something happening. And he always did like really interesting things with percussion. Like he would introduce like very unusual instruments in his, and I think would Neil Diamond be at that point he'd be considered pop, right?
Oh yeah. Yeah, I mean he's a pop artist. So
for like a pop artist at that time, which would have been like what? He was like really hip in what, 19 what?
It's the 70s, right?
Yeah, I was going to say 70s, 80s, right? Like rolling maybe just into the 80s or whatever.
Yeah.
And then he got kind of popular again in 2000, around 2000, I think it was close to 2010 maybe. He kind of got hip again. But that was happening to like a lot of different artists.
Yeah.
Toto's another one that kind of.
Well, they've always kind of been around, and they seems like they go in and out of more popular, less popular, but they're a phenomenal band regardless.
So, anyway, about Neil Diamond. So that was the thing that struck me about him and his style of music was that thing. So I started incorporating like that type of thing even with the stuff that I produce. I don't know if you notice, like a lot of guitar stuff I will send to you, or anything that comes from me to you, always has some kind of like I like to call it like a helicopter, because that's the only thing I can.
Sure.
Yeah. It's all like my guitar part. Like I'll have some kind of part that's down, like under everything, but it's kind of just stirring and keeping
undulating.
Yeah. I really like that. It's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun to play because it's pretty easy. It's usually one note. It's really simple, but it's like extremely effective.
Yeah.
But yeah. So Neil Diamond, up to you, buddy.
All right. Man, I think, the first one I might start with, kind of along the same lines, and I just kind of got back into these guys like a month ago, but I grew up like my grandma my grandma Iceman always listened to like oldies radio in the kitchen all the time. So, in the 80s and 90s, oldies was like 50s stuff. Mm-hmm. So I'm not going to say a particular record, but the Everly Brothers.
Oh boy.
Really been into them lately, man. And like, I've been listening to, there's like an Apple Music Essentials, like, collection that they put together, and it has all the hits and like some others, but like, man, I really felt like as a kid, that was just background music. So I know a lot of those songs, but like listening to it now, it's for being like late 50s stuff, dude, it sounds phenomenal.
Really?
Like, yeah. And I mean, of course I'm a drummer, so I hone in on that, but like the tone of the drums, cause you got to think back then, probably recording with maybe one, maybe two microphones on the drums, maybe.
Yeah.
And everyone's probably in a room together. But like, even compared to like some of the stuff that came out of LA in the 60s, I feel like, man, like there's one song in particular I'm thinking of where like the floor tom and the bass drum have like a lot of low end. Like, I don't know. That's really nerdy and technical, but just overall, like the way their voices blend together, the like the different things that are like playing the hooky parts of the song, how it's mixed. I feel like the thing I really like, and this is going to be a theme in a lot of the records I talk about, no matter what the instrument is or the voices that you're listening to, I really feel like you can hear like the space that they are in.
Oh,
like the room that they are recording in, like the room, the sound of the room plays a huge part in the sound of the record.
Dude, I love that aspect of when you have a good record done by a proper engineer and mixing engineer.
Yeah, because it's like That's the charm of those old studios and stuff, is like you went to a particular studio because of the character of the rooms they had.
Yeah, right. RCAA, RCAB.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, some of these things may have been recorded. I don't really know. In one of those. The thing I read about them was that Chet Atkins discovered the brothers when they were like in high school.
Yeah. I do remember that.
It's very possible that they recorded some of their stuff in Nashville.
Absolutely could have. But like, man, I'd be really interested to look that up.
Yeah. But
because I know Elvis cut in RCAA and B.
Yeah. So just the way their voices blend together, the way, it's like such a cheesy term to use, but like the way everything is glued together in that mix, in the mix of like on those songs. I don't know, man. Like it's a testament to like, yeah, recording technology is light years beyond what it was then. Mm-hmm. But I don't know if records sound richer or fuller. You know what I mean? Like,
it's a lot to say for the ingenuity that was used. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Because I don't know. It's just, it's like, it's warm. It's like, plus like the songs are good and the performances are good. So that all makes a difference. But just this, you know, if you have a good performance and a good song, but it's captured, I'm pretty sure it's the cat clawing at the door to get into here.
Really?
I was like, what is that noise? Yeah, she'll be fine.
If you pop it, earbud out, and she stops.
Yeah, she knows. Anyway. So yeah, that's my first one. No in particular record, but like, you know, Bye Bye Love, Kathy's Clown, like all those songs, man, they just,
I'm gonna have to go back and listen to some of that stuff.
Dude, yeah. But do you have Apple Music? Have we talked about this?
I don't, but I mean, everything's accessible in other places. But I'm going to have to check it out because I don't think I've paid that much.
Playlist if you had it.
Oh, okay. But I don't think I paid that much attention to it.
Like I hadn't either. Like I knew the songs and I liked the songs, but just listening to it in the last couple of weeks or so with headphones in or in my car, I'm like, man, it really sounds good.
That's so funny.
Because there's other stuff from that period of time that the songs are good and the singers are good or whatever, but it doesn't sound good.
It doesn't sound good.
You know? So I don't know. That's just
I'll be darned.
My take on it.
That's very cool.
Yeah.
Okay, so moving on to my next one here. Let's see here. I've got a few on the list, and I'm going to say that we're going to go with the Wood Brothers. So the Wood Brothers, these guys have been around for a while. I don't know a whole lot about these guys, the Wood Brothers, but they're three of them, and one plays an upright bass, the other one plays like acoustic guitar. Sometimes we'll have like a resonator style guitar, not like a slide, you know, round neck. And the other brother, he is the drummer, and he does play a drum kit, but normally with what I've seen of these guys, he's playing like an acoustic guitar. It's been completely retroed into like sort of like a Future Man acoustic style drum guitar. I don't know. It's really, really cool, and he gets some really cool sounds out of it. And all three of them are, I think, equally talented. And of course, the 3-part harmony is absolutely fantastic. I know that we were talking like about records that like sonically do something, and with that being said, these guys with the ability with how good they are together. I think one of the first things I ever heard them on was something on YouTube, and they made like a video that had like a few cameras, but it was in just a studio gathered around what I believe was I think it was a Neumann U47.
Okay.
I think. And it would have been an Omni.
It's a good mic.
It is a great microphone. And they were just gathered around that one microphone, and they did a pass. Oh, they had a small, I think, 2 or 3 part horn section in the same room on a couple or one ribbon microphone. I don't remember exactly what the configuration was. But the horn parts only had like little, you know, little spots here and there. They weren't like fully featured or anything. But it sounded incredible. The room sounded great. The mix between the 2, possibly 3 microphones was awesome. I don't know if they did anything to it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think they just allowed the saturation from the microphone, from the tubes, and from the preamps and whatever hit the thing, and they just went in and printed it, and then they just pushed levels kind of here and there, and then they just off it went.
Yeah.
Sounded fantastic. It was so good. They're a lot of fun to listen to. They've got some really interesting songs. They're kind of folky, bluesy, really, really neat stuff. But that I would consider an honorable mention from my point of view anyway.
Yeah, I checked them out after you mentioned them to me.
Oh, yeah?
I listened to them one night at dinner. Yeah, I mean, it was very passive listening. I need to go back and check it out. I think what I read, though, is... Are they all actual brothers?
I said at the very top, I don't know a whole lot about them. I just know what they call.
I think one of them is in that group Medeski, Martin, and Wood. I think one of them is the Wood in Medeski, Martin, and Wood, but I don't know. I was like reading, and then it was like time for dinner. But
I mean, the way they sound together, it wouldn't surprise me if they were all brothers, because they're so tight and their dialect is very similar as far as like saying what words they sing together.
Right.
Like that's what I have with Timmy.
Right.
My brother, when we do our thing and I'm singing back up with him, we say this words the same way.
Yeah.
And I tell you what, it's like, it's white on rice, man. I mean, we're stuck together. We're So to me, it's what it sounds like. But then they could just be really, really, really well rehearsed.
Right. Or just done it for a long time, regardless. But anyway, they were cool, man. I liked them, and that was kind of like almost a throwback to like the Everly Brothers type thing, kind of that like rockabilly, early rock and roll, but it's like kind of country. Yeah. Which the next record I'm going to talk about was like an homage to that. Raising Sand, the Alison Krauss and Robert Plant record.
Oh boy.
Which they even, I think one, if maybe not more, one of the songs at least is an Everly Brothers song on there. But that record sounds amazing. And there are a couple songs that like I have maybe a deeper connection to, like emotionally, but I just enjoy that record because it sounds so good. Like, talk about two people who I never thought I would never in a million years have put together to sing, and they sound amazing. Like some of the ballads, man, like they're so haunting. Like when Robert Plant really sings like really quiet and intimate like that, because you're just used to hearing him in Zeppelin or whatever. And when he just really like, it just sounds like they're right up on the mic, and you can hear like every little nuanced thing in their mouth that's happening. But like, man, gives you the warm and tinglies all over. Like,
there was a record I remember hearing for the first time that I heard that, and it was a Faith Hill record.
I know what song you're going to say, I bet, because I remember.
Which one is? I don't remember exactly.
It's the last song. I think it's is it the Fireflies record, Paris or whatever?
Yes.
Dude, her voice on that song. I have chills just thinking about it. Yeah.
It's so good. Like, it's the same thing. You can hear every little, like, you can hear her lips part. You can hear all that stuff.
And it's so good.
It's really, really good. All those and early on, as an engineer or somebody that makes music, you would want to edit that stuff out.
Yeah. You're trying like not to get that.
Right. You don't want to hear breath or you don't want to hear let's gate that. Let's get rid of it, and then later you find out, boy, unless it's something super unbelievable, like if they have like 4 gallons of spit in the corner of their mouth or something.
Right.
But
right.
Later you find out, boy, those things are what bring in the human essence of what this is of making music. Especially
on the right song. Like if the intimacy of recording a vocal like that helps convey the emotion of the song, then how do you not?
Yeah.
I have 2 examples of that I'm going to get to on this.
That goes back to the thing I was talking about with, I'm really right. I'm trying to stay on the rails here.
It's fine.
About like when you hear something, and we're always dissecting things, and you can hear whether or not that drummer's playing traditional grip. Like you can kind of hear that, and you can see it,
right?
And go, okay, that's how he's getting this particular thing to happen.
Yeah.
With me, it's guitar playing. I can say, I can hear he's moved his hand closer to the neck because he's doing this.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Where I think with vocalists and being able to capture such a good performance with hearing all these little things with the breath and the average listener, they know that. They can hear how the singer's holding their mouth.
Yeah.
And what kind of, like, where is that singer's jaw? They're not thinking about all that.
But like speaking, like using your mouth is something everybody does.
Yes, and they can relate, and then I think that's where things can be absorbed, and that's very cool. That's a very cool thought.
That's a good observation. I think because I think that is also why other genres that are maybe not vocally driven don't appeal to a wider audience. Like I'm not. This is very a big generalization, but take something like jazz or something. Most of the people that listen to jazz also play jazz, or at least play music. I mean, you definitely have maybe in like some bigger cities more cultured audiences, and maybe they don't really play anything, but they grew up listening to it. They like it, but the general population, if there isn't a singer, there's nobody for them to relate to,
Yeah. Right.
Yeah. It's kind of that mentality of like American Idol where like everybody thinks they can sing, but not everyone wants to go watch a band where there's no singer because, well, these people are doing a bunch of stuff I can't play bass. I can't play keys.
Yes. I don't know what that is.
I don't know what that is. Like,
I don't know. Oh, that's hard. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. They have no, like gauge for, yeah.
Right.
So that's an interesting take. I hadn't thought about that, but when you just said that, let me punch my microphone.
No, I didn't. It just occurred to me that is that is an subconscious connection.
Yeah.
That we're having when things are captured in such a perfect way. I mean perfect.
Yeah.
But I'm just pondering the whole thing myself.
I like that.
That's very cool. All right, so are you good with that?
Yeah, I mean, do you want to do another one? Because
I do. I just didn't know if you were done with that one particular.
Yeah, that's fine. I just didn't know. I figured the Faith Hill thing was off the cuff. I'd figured that
it was. You saying that made me think of that.
Well, I can remember us being in your basement.
That's exactly where I remember
I remember you heard
Matterhorn.
It. Yeah, at Matterhorn. But you heard it. I think either Timmy exposed it to you or you guys heard it somewhere else. And then when you came home, you were like, dude, you gotta listen to this vocal on this song. And we listened to it down on your studio monitors, like cranked way loud.
Oh
and
my gosh!
it was
dude.
like
in the basement. That's
in
right.
the basement. You had that. You kind of had like a makeshift mixing room set up at the time.
Yeah, that's exactly what I remember.
And we had like it was perfect too because like you didn't turn any lights on or anything, and that song starts out so mellow, and the way her voice like, yeah, it was cool. Like I have chills just thinking about it, and I haven't thought about that song in a long time. But as soon as you said Faith Hill and vocal, I knew that's what you were going to say. Yeah.
By Dyne Audio BM5As. That's what they were on. Yeah.
Those were good.
Great
monitors.
set of monitors, dude.
That's another podcast, but yeah.
It is.
All right.
Okay, cool. So my next one would be
Well,
I
was just thinking, I have two examples that kind of fall in line with what we're talking about. Should I do those real quick?
Let's stay right on.
I'm not trying to shortcut you, shortchange you.
No. Go.
Okay.
Go
well, just talking about the vocal thing, and I said this on the the episode that we lost, which is why we're redoing it. But I love Sheryl Crow, definitely one of my favorite artists of all time. But if I could only pick one of her records, it would be the Globe Sessions. I love that record, and I love every song on that record for tons of different reasons. Emotionally, almost all those songs hit me pretty hard, and the performances are all great. But like sonically, the way the record sounds, in particular, her vocal, especially on like, oh gosh, The Difficult Kind, which is an amazing ballad. Like you can like hear the strain and the pain and the sorrow and like everything in her vocal. And it sounds like she's already sang this a bunch of times and she's really worn out, almost like intentionally, like they got her to that point to where she's really like, it sounds like not only physically, but like it sounds emotionally hard for her to get through that song. I don't know who it's written about. If it is written about anybody, I have no idea.
What's that title again?
The Difficult Kind.
Difficult Kind. And
it's just, and there's like some great like slide guitar playing on it. And I don't know. It's got, that record has a ton of great songs. My Favorite Mistake is on there. Anything But Down.
That's the one I remember.
Yeah. That was the big single. I think there was a music video and everything. But the entire record, the Globe Sessions, so good. And yeah, I love the way the drums sound on it. I love the way everything else sounds on it. But the thing that's always stuck out in my mind is how her vocal sounds. Like, especially on the more, like the slower, more ballad type songs, because they're all kind of heartbreak songs. And she just like, I don't know if it's just something she was going through in her life at the time or whatever, but just everything about it. They captured the essence of what those songs were about in her vocal performance every time. And then the other thing, the self-titled Audio Slave record, huge, love that record. Half that record is on my running playlist. But there is one, and I got to find that. I wrote down the timestamp.
5:46.
No, it was 2:57. But the other one is just 46 seconds, and I gotta. Yeah. Okay. Just want to make sure. In the song "What You Are," at 46 seconds, when you listen to his vocal, he does this thing that in any other genre, and especially nowadays, they would have been like, let's get another take of that. Where he like it, I can't even describe the sound. Like I've made the sound 100 times, but I don't know how to describe it. Where like you're trying to take a breath, and then like you kind of like the air gets stuck in your mouth, and then you're trying to push out whatever you're trying to say. I'm not even going to try and sound stupid doing it, but he does that. It's like the second half of the first verse. The first phrase, the first word, and you hear like every part of it. And I don't know, man, like maybe part of it is that it's Chris Cornell and his voice was so badass anyway. And now he's dead. So there's like, like a that kind of factor to it. I have no idea. I can't say whether or not that plays into how I feel about it, but like whenever I just listen to it, I'm like, man, that is like so raw. That's like human emotion captured in a vocal performance. Like, and it's one of those things where any other record, they would have been like, even the artist probably would have been like, I want to do that again. That sounds terrible. I messed up. You know, because it's like he went to take a breath too late and then realized he had to sing.
I see.
I can't, you have to listen to it. I can't describe it, but man, it gives me chills.
Should we play just that piece?
Sure. Why not? Yeah, we'll stick it in here.
I see. Okay.
Yeah, you see what I'm talking about?
Yeah, like, I do. Wow.
Man, I love that. Huh. I think most of these records I could talk about, well, maybe not most, but a lot of these records, some of the things I really love are that they are imperfect, or there are imperfections in them that were left in because as a whole, everything about it was good. Yep. And I miss that sometimes in this era of perfection on everything. Because music hits you differently than it used to, you know? Like, honestly, that's probably the most recent record. Well, maybe not. That record was like 2003 or something. Yeah, no, maybe not. But like, I don't have anything newer than 2008 on here. I don't think so. I don't know. Like,
that says a lot.
Perfect music is like, yeah, it's perfect. But I don't know.
You're taking out all the character of that particular person. Here's the thing. It's super easy to do. It's just so easy. It's so easy to quantize, and it's easy to tune. And since the early 2000s, these tuning software algorithms and the way they do it have gotten so good and so easy. Yeah. That they're perfect. They're really good.
And it's now, but, you know, yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
There's certain degree of knowledge you have to be able to do it and do it well, like with tuning a vocal. But I've been in a lot of sessions where the engineer's not really focused on the performance as much as just getting the noise so that they can tune it later.
Yeah, and it's like, man, I guess that's the thing I don't like about it, because you could say the same for quantizing. Like, you're not capturing a performance. You're just getting samples that you're going to arrange later however you want. Yeah. So it's like, well, then it really doesn't make a difference who you like. It's not impressive to me that you got so and so to play on your record, because I'm not hearing what they played really.
You know what? That makes me think of something.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. So this has been maybe a couple of years ago. I was watching this tech event, and it was with Google. Yeah. And they were demonstrating on a new piece of technology they'd been working on for a while called Google Assistant. Not the Google Assistant you or I know right now. And I don't even know if I haven't really looked to see how they've pushed this either to the side or they're working on moving it forward. But the demo was a guy says, "Hey, Google." Oh, shoot. Oh. No, I'm okay. Mine's not listening to me. And I'm so sorry if somebody's Google just went crazy. I'm sorry about that. But they say, "Hey, G," right? Yeah. Book me an appointment at the local hair salon on Tuesday. Then the Google Assistant actually makes the phone call. Okay. It's a server. It's a robot, right? It calls and they're demoing this on stage, and you hear the assistant say, "Hello, I'm calling on behalf of blah, blah, blah. I'd like to schedule an appointment for so-and-so. What do you have available?" And then the person talks back. They have no idea. Wow. And it was unbelievable because they demoed two different things. One was with humanized inflection.
Okay.
The other one was without. The one without sounded uber robotic, right? Even though the voice was the same, but the delivery was nowhere close.
Yeah.
And with the one that fooled everybody, before the robot would start speaking, you know what they put in front of it?
Like a breath?
A breath and a noise.
Yeah. Wow.
And then it would start asking or talking. But, you know, these devices don't need to do that.
Right.
They don't need to go, well,
Yeah.
You know, those were all programmed in because that's what we're accustomed to hearing. So, backing it up a bit, you start taking like vocal performances and removing these little things, or just having them sing the line. Just, okay, fella, here we go from the top. All I need you to do is somewhat stay on pitch and just read what's on the paper. Don't give me anything else.
Right.
Just do that, and then I'll fix everything over here with my magic keyboard.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then you wind up having somewhat can be an emotionless, you know, experience.
Yeah, there's like no inflection, and from a like an instrumental standpoint, like there's no, you're not hearing what like somebody's intent was, because if the common denominator is just everything's locked to a grid, so everything is quote unquote perfectly in time. But music, you can't, the only emotion you can convey is that this is perfectly in time.
Yeah.
But like if I'm playing some song and it's supposed to be like sexy, or it's supposed to be like really sad or whatever, like things need to be kind of laid back. Or if things are like really angsty or excited, they need to be on top. They need to be pushing. But if everything is just, you're just hammering that into my head all the time, everything, like, I don't know.
How am I supposed to feel about that? Right.
Yeah.
You know, maybe you have a similar experience. I know we're getting slightly not off topic, but kind of staying in the same vein of thing that we're talking about with emotion and music, and how that happens and why some of it seems like it's super sterile. One of my experiences I had early on when I moved to Nashville, and it was a good learning experience, and kind of a tough one because it was sort of an ego hit, right? And I don't mean like ego like me being all knowing and being so good at whatever, but more or less just I kind of had an idea of what I thought maybe things how they are supposed to be and whatever. So I was working in a studio. A buddy of mine, we both know him pretty well, Edwin Portillo. He had this really, really fantastic studio in Smyrna, or was it Laverne? Laverne, just outside Nashville for a while, and then he's moved. I think not too far away, and he's working on constructing a brand new studio, which is outrageous.
The dude is never short for amazing home studios.
He is an incredible builder. He's one of the nicest people I know. He's a very close friend of mine. And he's very talented. He is very talented. Yeah. I actually listened to him on one of his things not too long ago. He playing piano and singing. He's gotten so good.
He has a good voice too. I remember
he has a great voice.
I remember not knowing that until much later. I didn't even know that he really sang.
Funny. Well, he didn't really much when I first met him. He didn't really sing much. He was asking me about like vocal coaches and stuff, and he would sing for me and stuff. And he wasn't like particularly good. His pitch was kind of, and his tone was. Then he wound up taking lessons and got better, but then he wound up just doing it more. Yeah. And now it's just like, wow, he's got a very good, like he's got such a good voice. Yeah. Anyway, so I was doing a record there at his place, and I don't remember who it was, but I was engineering, and I think it was the bass player or the guitar player, one or the other. They laid down an overdub, and everybody was in the control room like everybody does. They all congregate there and talk, and then they listen to whatever's being put down, and then they talk some more. Well, the guitar part was down. The guitar player felt real good about it. He come back in, and we were listening down to the part. He was already in control room, and we were listening down to the part, and I heard him slide his hand up the or down or whatever up the neck, and whenever you do that on a stringed instrument, it makes like a sound. Well, it just happened to catch me, and just like it really like it was dead in the middle of my head. I mean, it was like, wow, that was prominent, and it could have sounded or been interpreted as feedback.
Okay,
it wasn't real long, but it was there, and I said, well, we should probably do that part again. Like it's like literally it would have been 2 bars.
Yeah.
And the one guy that was in charge of like the group producing, for lack of a better word, said, what are you talking about? And I was like, okay, maybe it's not as, maybe I'm sitting in the wrong spot. So I play it back, and I'm like, and it still was like, he's like, I'm not really getting what you're saying. So I play it again, and he's like, I said, you hear it like you can hear like where he moves his hand, and it's pretty. Yeah. It's pretty. He goes, dude, it's all rock and roll, baby. And then I realized, oh, that's not a big, that's what it is. Right. So that was a pretty good gut punch, because I was like thinking, you don't want these little quirks, but then after that day, I mean, I reflected on that quite a bit and thought about that a lot, and I was like, oh man, maybe I need to realign with myself a little bit with what I believe to be a good sounding performance. Right.
Yeah, I mean, I was just thinking like, I can think of quite a few records that noise, the sound you're talking about. Yeah. You hear it in the guitar, hear it on the bass, whatever.
Yep.
I love that. Not on everything. It's not always appropriate on everything, but like in certain contexts, man, like that's how I know that a human is playing it.
And maybe me being a guitar player, maybe I'm just,
Yeah, and I mean, it's obviously something you don't want, like an overabundance of, like if you're doing a guitar track and you're hearing it all the time in a 3-minute song, it's like, dude, maybe you need to work on your technique a little bit more.
You got some fingeries in there, buddy?
You got some fingeries, you can spell that decker.
But if it's just like once and it's in the right spot, man, that's like one of those things where in my head it clicks. I'm like, oh yeah, these are humans playing this. That's why I like it so much.
And now I can see what he's doing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's like all of a sudden, like maybe this is weird. I don't play bass or guitar, but like depending on how it sounds, it gives me almost a visualization of like that player's body language. Do you know what I mean? Like, oh yeah, it sounded like he sounded like he was real chill about it, and just kind of, he played the note, and then he was like, yeah, man, and he slid his hand off, or maybe it was like really fast because this guy is like, he's really into what he's playing. You know what I mean? Like, it's like all these like things like that are like context clues into like a player or a band.
Right.
I don't know. Like, I like that. I'm trying to think of like a drum example. Of course, I can't come up with one. But I mean, there's a...
You know what? I think we're going to have drum example here in a little bit. So...
Are we?
Yeah, I think so. I believe so. At least I'm going to bring up something maybe...
Okay, great.
So, second part of the Audio Slave.
Oh yeah, well, I was.
So you had that first section.
Whether I was going to talk about that, but yeah. So on that song at 46 seconds, that's his vocal thing that I really like. There's another song called "Shadow on the Sun,"
Is that is that the one you had me listen to?
Yeah, the guitar solo part at 2 minutes and 57 seconds. It's like the second half of the guitar solo. There's like kind of this slow build, and he's doing this weird effect thing. And if anyone doesn't know, I think most people do, but Audio Slave is just Rage Against the Machine, but with Chris Cornell instead of Zach De La Rocha. So it's Tom Morello on guitar, who's known for like weird sounds. Like he's not like a conventional guitar player, especially when it comes to solos and stuff. Mm-hmm. And so the second half of that guitar solo, man, like no one has ever asked me this question, but if anyone were to ever be like, hey, like, what does it sound like inside your head? I would point them to this timestamp and say, listen to that on repeat over and over and over. And that's what it is. And then you will understand why it's hard for me to have silence in my life. That's why I'm always listening to a podcast or like music or something, because that is like the closest real world example of like what is going on in my head if I'm, you know,
idle,
left to just think like stewing about something for too long.
Mm-hmm. The hamster won't come off the wheel.
Yeah, excuse me. And that's all I'm going to say about that. I mean, that record in general is an amazing record for a lot of different reasons, but sonically, man, like it's a 3-piece band. I mean, there's some overdubs, but like it's loud and it hits you hard, and Chris Cornell's vocals are just fucking insane.
It is super hip. I got to listen after you mentioned that to me, and I listened to that part, and I listened to a couple other tracks from that record.
Yeah,
it's really, really good. I can't believe I don't. But you know what? I don't know if maybe I might not be like a real music connoisseur too. You know.
Well, I mean, who is?
Yeah. So. Yeah, that record was super cool. What struck me about that particular thing when you told me about listening to that section,
yeah,
and you were like, if I don't have something where I'm listening, that's what the inside of my head is like. And I was like, and you said, I don't even know like how he's doing that with the guitar to make that kind of thing happen. And I said, well, it sounds like, and you're like, no, man, don't tell me.
It does. Yeah. Well, it doesn't matter. Like, I don't want to know. I don't need to know. Like maybe someday, but like it is a perfect musical moment that illustrates a thing in my life. I don't need to know how it works.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Right. Why it might harm the part because
because I don't ever want it to come by and I hear it and now all of a sudden I'm thinking on a technical level, oh, he's doing it this way. I just want to hear it for what it is
and just go, holy crap! Yeah, right.
And that goes back to our previous podcast about like trying to listen to music just as a listener and not as a musician sometimes.
Yeah.
Because it can be tough to like, you know, to just be wowed by something because it moves you musically and you're not lost in the thought of, oh, well, he's doing that like this. And if I'd have done it, I'd have played it like, you know, like, I don't give a shit how you would play that. Like if you'd have done it that way, it might not move me the way it does. So
that's right.
You know what I mean? Like,
yep.
Mm-hmm. There are times where I just have to let go and be like, no, this little musical snippet is perfect and I don't need to know anything about it to know why it's perfect or why it hits me in the way that it does.
Okay, hold on right there. I know we can kind of get carried away at times, and this is one of those times.
Yeah, it happens a lot.
Yeah. So what we're going to do is we're going to pause here, and this will be the end of that episode, but it's going to be a two-parter.
Yes.
And we're going to continue our ideas on what are great records in our opinion on the next episode.
Right. So yeah, don't dismay. We'll be back with the rest of the list.
Until then, keep your nuts in a vice.
You can't say that.
Thanks for listening to the Good Share Podcast. If you enjoyed this episode or just enjoy the podcast in general, give us 5 stars or thumbs up or whatever it is that you can do through the apparatus that you're using. If you happen to be watching us on YouTube, be sure to smash that like button, subscribe, and ring that bell. You can also find more content and more about the podcast at www.goodsharepodcast.com.